It's a different meeting, so we need the roll call.
Of course. Okay, I have it all right here. I just have to find the correct right here. Okay. Rachel Anger is present. Kathy Calhoun,
I'm here.
John Kalila. Is John Kalila in the meeting?
It looks like he fell asleep.
No, I'm awake.
Okay, so, and you're also present, great. Kenny
Yes.
Curley,
Here.
Pam Delabar,
Present.
Kathy Dunham. Kathy, are you on the call? Thank you. George Eigenhauser,
Present.
Yukiko Hayata,
Present.
Carol Krasnowski,
Here.
Mark Hannon, I'm sorry I skipped you,
Here.
Rich Maston,
Here.
Steve McCullough,
Here.
Melanie Morgan,
Here.
uh, Pam Moser,
Here.
Daryl Newkirk,
Here.
Sharon Roy,
Here.
Howard Webster,
Here.
Annette Wilson.
Here.
And from our central office, we have Eileen Tartaglia,
Here.
James Simbro,
I'm here.
Shelley Borowski,
Here.
Shelley Perkins.
Here.
I understand Gavin Cow cannot be with us this evening. Is
That's
Eva?
correct.
Thank you. Is Eva Chen on the call? And Matt Wong is on the call.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, great. We have a quorum. Everyone is present except Eva, and she may be one of the attendees I'm just not seeing. So I will turn it back to you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you so much. So our first order of business is to approve our agenda, our orders of the day. And are there any changes to the orders of the day? Pam Mosier?
Yeah, I had a question on central office. We have some names in there, and I was just wondering if we should have had those either marked off or we should have had that in closed session. I mean, we usually don't put people's names in the reports in open session.
Okay, Eileen, you want to address that?
That's the translation of show rules.
I didn't give it a thought, frankly.
Well,
Pam is probably right.
okay,
That-
but we can you can blacken those out.
Yeah, we'll change that when we post the recording.
Okay, Mark Cannon, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. I have an agenda item dealing with the scoring for the current show season, and I don't know if it's necessary. I've asked many times and I've not gotten an answer. Was there not a discussion of bringing it back up in October for a revisit? If there wasn't, and the intention is that these changes are going to last for the entire show season, then we can delete that agenda item.
So Mark, I went through and read and I downloaded those on my computer and did a search for October. The only thing that come up for October was the extension of the guest judging between TICA and ACFA. And the other thing that come up was the grants of distinction that Monty said we would be seeing a show rule change at the October meeting. That was the only thing referenced as for October. And he said that, I mean, I posted it on the Next Generation page. I copied it and put it on there. But he basically said that the show rule needed to be rewritten because it covers more than one season. And so that's the only reference for October that I found in that discussion.
It was not in the minutes, I agree. I don't know whether it was in closed session or whether it was via the board's email list, but it's not material. If we're not going to revisit this show season, we're going to leave the rules alone, then let's take that agenda item off.
Okay, so we'll delete that one. Special scoring rules previously established for current season Hammond. So that will be deleted. Thank you, Mark. Pam Mosier.
Sorry, forgot to take my hand down.
Okay, not a problem. Mark, you still have comments?
No, I can't. I just lost you. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Can you find where to lower your hand?
No, I don't see anything on the screen, but I'll find it. Don't worry. I have nothing else right now.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, Rachel, I don't have the closed session agenda, but I do want to add one. I've got a couple of announcements about some going on in China that I just found out today. There's no action item, it's just an announcement. So if we can add a line item under the closed session meeting to address that. Okay, any other addition? Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, for some reason, Daryl, I can't find where I raised my hand. But we need to withdraw number 17 on this agenda.
Which one's that?
Number 17.
Okay, all I've got is what central office post. Can you slide up, Shelley, to where the agenda is?
It's a closed session item, so maybe we don't want to slide up to it.
Okay, very good.
Okay, but slide up and so I can take a screenshot of the entered out ahead of time, but I didn't get around to it today. Okay. Okay, so are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, is there any objections to our newly revised agenda?
I
Rachel?
have my hand up. This is Rachel. Sorry,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. This is Rachel. I have my hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, 17. Someone, I've been asked that same question several times, but for historical purposes, I wanted to leave it in there with a notation that it had been withdrawn because it was requested to be included and then asked to be withdrawn. So that's why I left it in there. I've also got an executive session place marker for judging program. And the issue that may have been transferred there is now moot. So we also don't need an executive session judging program time slot.
Okay. All right. Any objections to our additions and corrections to the agenda? Okay, without objection by unanimous consent, we've adopted our orders of the day. We'll move on to central office report.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into all the detail, but as you recall, we did start manually reviewing litters last fall to ensure cattery names were being used correctly because there was suspected widespread fraud. And we found out through that manual review that that really wasn't the case. There was just a misunderstanding of how cattery names should be used. And we've been educating people on how to do that. We have learned enough of what was going on by this manual review that we will be enhancing the software to attempt to make a match of what needs to be done in order for a litter to properly be registered by the proper people. And that should allow a lot of the litters to go through. We don't have an exact number yet until we actually get that software in place. So it is something that we're working on. We do realize that there are some litters that have gotten through because the information that we look for seemed to have been fine. However, when it was brought to our attention that something may have been awry at closer inspection, we realized that something indeed was an issue. So we are working on that as well and doing whatever we can to tighten up the process and to keep the litter registrations pure as possible. So does anybody have any questions?
George, you're recognized.
Yeah, I have to be careful because I don't want to name names of either people or cats, but a couple of weeks ago, there was an open letter to the board about people having problems with cats in China suddenly producing litters that it's their cat, but somebody else was registering litters. And I asked central office to look into it. Would the changes that are being discussed regarding the litter registrations, would that help with some of the problems we've been having with cats in China suddenly popping up that aren't in fact cats in China, but are cats somewhere else that somehow got transferred into a Chinese owner?
It will help. I don't know that it's going to be perfect, but it will help. Without going into more detailed information, I really can't say a whole lot more, but yes, it will help. I just also want to make a point that I know people are impatient. They're not getting their litters registered right away. On one hand, we're trying to do whatever we can to make the litter registration process as good as possible. On the other hand, people are becoming impatient because they don't get their litters registered right away. And a lot of the litters can go through right away. Unfortunately, the software has to be taught which ones it's okay to go to, that it can go through right away. And unfortunately, everybody kind of gets caught in this net or web, shall we say, while we're trying to work through this process. So, if people can just be patient a little bit longer, hopefully the enhancements will make things go a little bit quicker.
And I have a follow-up question. From the way I read this, the enhancements will not require additional work on the part of the person doing the registrations. It will involve some sort of automatic check against CFA's records. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Hey, Rich, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you. Aline, if an individual wants to register a kitten quickly, do we still offer the expedited services and they pay the fee? Are we able to accommodate that or no?
Yes, the expedite fee is still an option, and it does ensure that the work is processed more quickly. It goes to the top of the line, the head of the class, so to speak.
And if somebody was to want to go the route of expedited registration, is that a 24-hour, 48, 72-hour? How quick is that?
I believe it's 24 hours. James, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's 24 hours. But I just want to clarify for Rich, we don't offer, we've never offered expedited service for litters. Cats we have, but litters not. And we don't do that now. But this enhancements should, our goal is to get litters to register instantly as soon as they pay, like they had in the past before we went to this review.
So James, are we able to allow an individual to go the route of expedited services to register a kitten?
Yes. Yeah, we always have.
Okay, so that hasn't changed then.
That hasn't changed, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Helene.
Hey, Shelley, scroll down to the Grand Point requirement because we're going to take the other topic in closed session, is my understanding. Okay. Before we get into the Grand Point requirement, because that is, I'm asking for a board action, I just wanted to let you know that the revised bylaws, which were formerly the Constitution, will be posted on the website by the end of this week. Normally, the changes to the Constitution or bylaws don't take us that long, but because they were so extensive, we just are checking and double checking to be sure. So, apologies for the bit of a delay, but they'll be up by the end of the week. All right, so the Grand Point requirements, if there was an exception passed at the June meeting that for all areas of ID except China, there would be a reduction for the Grand Points to 75 for Grand Champion and 25 for Grand Premier with 3 qualifying rings. Coming into, that was for this current season. Coming into the season, there were cats in the ID that already had those 75 points, but if we're talking about Grand Champion. So my question is, was it the intent of the board that a cat grand in this season with that reduction in points automatically before attending a show? Or do they have to at least be present and competing in a show, even if they don't earn any points, to get that grand champion? Now, we in the central office thought that the cat would have to at least be present and competing in the show season in which the cat is getting a grand. But that may not be what the board intended. I don't know if I've made that clear or if everybody understands what I'm talking about. Or do you just want to, does everybody understand what I'm talking about? Does anybody have any questions? Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? Does anybody have any questions? What is,
Okay. Yeah, if you're not speaking, please mute your mic. Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
Thank you, Daryl. I know when we addressed this, we were not thinking of past show season, but I think it is only fair to get things going in these areas. I think that we should allow those that have the sufficient points. I don't know who that is on that 154 number, but it's annoying. I don't see a problem actually in allowing those who have already obtained those points to be able to excuse me, collect their titles and to go forth as soon as they can go forth. It's just going to be a while before they have a chance. And as for not giving the titles until they go to a show, that's sort of going against the process we already have for split season kittens, where I had 2 regional winning split season kittens that were not able to show in the show season that they got their RWs on. So I have no problems for us including those cats for that particular reason.
Few hands up. Let me call on Mark.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Matt was the one that brought this up, so I would suggest that we ask Matt for his input.
Hi, yes. I agree with Pam. I mean, either way it works. If a show has to enter at least one show this season, I think people are grateful. But I mean, if the logistic is more difficult and some cats automatically qualify and eligible to get the grand status without entering this season, I mean, I think we can afford a bit of generosity here. Logistically and sort of process-wise, easier for you to handle, for central office to handle. Enter one more show this season to be qualified, or they just automatically qualify?
Okay. So Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Okay, so may I suggest a motion? Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so my motion would be, and only make sure that I'm capturing what the intent is. So it would read, for all areas of the ID, except for China, reduce the number of points required to 75 points for Grand Champion and 30 points for Grand Premier, with 3 qualifying rings in both the 2020-2021 and the 2021-2022 season. Is that it?
I would second that, Delabar.
Okay. Huh?
I'm sorry, Daryl. Nancy Dot, she is correct. Can I revise the motion?
Yes. We
Where
have-
I said and 30 points for Grand Premier, it would be and 25 for Grand Premier.
Okay, so can you restate the complete motion again?
I will. For all areas of the ID except China, reduce the number of points required to 75 points for Grand Champion and 25 points for Grand Premier with 3 qualifying rings. So this is the same thing as the beginning of the discussion, adding in both the 2020-2021 and the 2021-2022 seasons.
All right,
And
so
I will again
your
second that.
okay, thank you, Pam. Your motion includes last season and this season.
It does.
Okay, good deal. Okay, Kenny Curley, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Aline, how many cats are we talking about?
I don't know, Kenny, offhand. I can't imagine it's that many,
Yeah, I'm supportive of this.
a handful.
I support this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kenny. Anybody else? Kathy, your hand's still up?
I'm sorry. I'll take it down.
Okay, that's all right. Not a worry. All right, any other comments? Okay. It sounds like most people are for this, so I'll ask for unanimous consent. Any objections to the proposal as reworded and stated by Kathy and seconded by Pam? Okay, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the motion is adopted. Okay, so Desiree's next up with the marketing report.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Desiree.
Okay, great. So basically, what I just wanted to report on was our status of our exploration of a brand, of the brand refresh and the agency partnership with Kathy Calhoun's committee. So done a little bit of research on the Gen Zs. So I've been studying that and preparing how we can have the discussion with the agency that we do choose. Gen Z is quite an interesting bunch. And if we're thinking about the future of CFA, I think we need to look further than just the millennials. You know, if we want to be in, you know, exist for another 100 years, I think we really need to start looking at future generations. So, so this is just a little information I wanted to share with you about the millennials and Gen Z. But status-wise, we did get 4 proposals in, and they just came in on Friday. So everyone on our committee has those proposals, so but we'll be reviewing them and having a discussion next week. And hopefully we'll have something to present to the board at the next board meeting.
All right, anything else, Desiree?
No, really, that's it. Unless anyone has any questions about it, that's it.
Okay, I don't see any hands up. All right, we'll go on to the treasurer's report. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. So you have the treasurer's report. There are not a lot of things that I want to remark on. I will call out, there it is, that total registration is $12,000, about 6.34% less than prior year. And we are starting to lap, you know, 2 time periods of when we were impacted by the pandemic. So so we are a little bit less than last year. With that, I would like to drop down to I think the balance of the report is fairly self-explanatory, but I would like to drop down, if you would, Shelley, to the summary at the end. So I think there's just a couple of things that we just need to know. So if you look at the net operating income, which is our income, total income minus total expenses. We have a net operating income of a negative 16,329. It's early on, but that's something that we should be cognizant of and keep our eye on that. That being said, we do primarily due to our unrealized gains and losses, which are investments, with well-skilled guidance by Mr. Maston. We made almost $26,000 in May and June, which is great news. And that brings our net income, the bottom line, to a positive, along with a few other things there, interest from smaller accounts and rental and those sorts of things. That brings our net income to $15,220, which is a positive, but we did budget to be ahead of that. So that's about 45% of budget. So the message here is that one, it's early on, but two, we just need to make sure that, we keep an eye on our spending, and we'll know much more on how the year is developing in October. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Any questions, anyone? You're up with the finance report, order number 6.
Okay, thank you. This report is just a point of clarification on the Region 9 incentive program. And I trust everybody took the time to read it. It's very short and sweet. Does anybody have any questions for Pam or myself, Pam Delabar or myself?
Pam, your hands up.
I didn't take it down from before.
Okay, no problem.
Daryl, since there's no questions, Pam and I do not have anything further to add.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Order number 6, Carol Presnowski, you're recognized for new club applications.
Thank you, Daryl. As mentioned in the report, comprehensive CFA club and activity statistics were distributed to the board in mid-July. In addition, my report included maps including the location of new club applicants compared to existing clubs. Thanks once again to Dick Kallmeyer for his work in compiling all of the statistics and maps. We have 6 new club applications to consider today, 4 from China, 1 from Thailand, and 1 from Indonesia. The committee chair from Asia and the committee chair from China, as well as the ID representatives, approve of these clubs. I will make a standing motion to accept all of them, reserving the right to vote no.
Kenny will put up a standing second.
Thank you, Kenny and Carol.
Okay, the first club application is Central Breed Cat Club. This club is located in Nonthaburi, a city within a province of the same name in Thailand. Because it is located close to Bangkok, Nonthaburi is actually considered to be a suburb of Bangkok, the country's capital. The city of Nonthaburi has a population of over 250,000, while the city of Bangkok has a population of over 10 million. 6 members are active CFA breeders and exhibitors, 4 members have show production experience, and 1 has clerking experience. This is an all-breed club, and if accepted, the club plans to produce 1 show a year in Bangkok and surrounding provinces, as well as occasional fun shows.
Okay. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just backing up a little bit, I want to express the appreciation for all of the graphs and reports that you and Dick put together. There was a lot to unpack on that. So I wondered, I think one of the fundamental questions is how many other clubs are in the cities that we are discussing. Would it be possible moving forward if you could add that bit of information to the summary so that all the board members wouldn't have to go back and look at those files and all of that? Would that be a possibility?
I suppose so. I don't, yes, I guess I could do that. That's what Dick tried to do by providing the additional maps
Yeah.
showing the locations of the clubs. Yeah, and I think that kind of illustrated it graphically, but I could try to include that in the future.
And perhaps no one else would benefit from that. I mean, if I'm the only one, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, one comment is that in some cases there might be, as in this case, it's a suburb of Bangkok. Well, there might be a club in another suburb of Bangkok. That would be hard to compile in a report to be able to specifically say exactly where these places are located. There might be, in China, there might be clubs in the same province or the same city, but there might be a different district. So I don't know if I could get that exact with the information. Perhaps Dick could help me with that.
Daryl, can I just speak?
Yes, go ahead.
I agree with you, Carol, that would probably, but it's probably, rather than having the entire board try to figure that out independently, I think it would be a better result if you guys could, just give it your best shot at that. It would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, you ready for the vote? All those in favor of Central Breed Cat Club, raise your hand. Okay, so the yes votes are Mark Hannon, Rachel Anger, John Kalila, Kathy Dunham, Howard Webster, Hayata San, Kresnowski, Delabar, Roy, Kenny Curley, Annette Wilson, Rich Maston, George Eigenhauser, Melanie Morgan, Steve McCullough, Pam Mosier, Kathy Calhoun. You'll take your hands down. Those opposed, raise your hand. Rachel, you and Rich still have your hands up. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, no votes, no abstentions. Rachel, you can announce the vote.
That was 17 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, welcome to CFA. Next, Carol.
The next application is from Dragon King Feline Fanciers Club. This club is currently located in Suzhou, Jiangsu Province. However, I was recently informed the secretary will soon be relocating south of there to Wenzhou, a prefecture-level city in southeastern Zhejiang Province in eastern China. Zhejiang Province borders Shanghai to the northeast and Jiangsu Province to the north. So what's happening is they're moving to the province south of the original one that was in my report. With a population of over 9 million, Wenzhou is located along the coastline and is a center for export and light manufacturing. 3 members are active CFA breeders and exhibitors. 4 members have show production experience. 1 member is a CFA long-hair associate judge and master clerk, and 2 others have clerking experience in another association. This is an all-breed club, and if accepted, they plan to produce an annual clerking school and 2 shows a year in the Zhejiang Province.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Aline or Bob and Russell Webb on the meeting. Aline.
I'm sorry. They're not in the meeting because they didn't have a report. We didn't realize that they were going to need to log in.
Okay, well, I mean, we usually allow them to comment on these clubs. We have in the past. So we,
All we can do is try and get in touch with them and give them the meeting link and have them log in.
okay. All right. Well, we'll let Kenny speak on their behalf. And
Yeah, I know Russell is fully supportive of this club.
okay,
Yes, and also Bob Zenden was in full support of the clubs from Asia.
okay, all right. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, any objection to the acceptance of Dragon King Feline Fanciers Club? All right, hearing no objection by unanimous, Pam Mosier. You're muted.
Yes, I do. It's a no
Okay.
vote for me.
All right, no problem. So all the yes votes, please raise your hand. You might want to take your hand down, Pam, if you're voting no. Okay, so the yes votes are George Eigenhauser, Kenny Curley, Kathy Dunham, Annette Wilson, Mark Hannon, Carol Krasnowski, John Kalila, Hayata San, Melanie Morgan, Rich Maston, Sharon Roy, Rachel Anger, Howard Webster, Kathy Calhoun. You'll please take your hands down. Okay, and the no votes, please. No vote is Pam Mosier and Steve McCullough. All right, if you'll take your hands down. Any abstentions? Pam Delabar is an abstention. Okay, Rachel, you can announce the vote.
There we go. That was 14 yes votes, 2 no votes, 1 abstention.
Okay, so the club is agreed to. Welcome. Carol, next.
Okay, and the next application is from GLB Cat Fancier Club. This club is located in Xiamen, a sub-provincial city in southeastern Fujian province on the East China coastline across the Taiwan Strait from Taiwan. Xiamen has a population of over 5 million and is ranked as one of the top 100 cities in the world for scientific research. All of the members are active CFA breeders and exhibitors, and 2 members have clerking experience. This is an all-breed club, and if accepted, they plan to participate in the CFA clerking program and produce up to 10 shows a year in the Fujian province, particularly in the city of Xiamen, where there have been no CFA shows.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Calhoun, you're recognized.
Carol, do you know what's the major city, the the largest city in this area? Or maybe Kenny knows. That these people that are club members already said they show, they already participate, and they intend to have 10, up to, maybe not 10 shows, but up to 10 shows.
I would have to look at a map of China. I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
Well, isn't Xiamen the capital of that area?
It's not the capital. It's a sub-provincial city though.
Okay.
Yeah, and there really hasn't been any activity in that general area with CFA clubs. And one additional comment I'd like to make on several of these club applications is that several of them are bringing in breeders that are currently active in other associations that want to now be active in CFA. So I think that's a nice progression for CFA in general.
Okay, Kenny Curley.
Yeah, Russell is also fully supportive of this club for the very reasons Carol just brought up.
Okay. Okay, good. Any other comments? Okay, if you're in favor of GLB Cat Fancier Club, raise your hand. Okay, so the yes votes are Rachel Anger, George Eigenhauser, Kathy Dunham, Sharon Roy, Carol Kresinowski, Kenny Curley, Hayat San, Howard Webster, Annette Wilson, Mark Hannon, John Kalila, Melanie Morgan, Kathy Calhoun, Rich Maston. You'll please take your hands down. And if you're against accepting this club, please raise your hand. And that would be Pam Mosier, and I'm assuming Steve McCullough. You'll take your hands down. And any abstentions? Pam Delabar's an abstain. Okay, Rachel, you can announce the vote.
Thank you. That's 14 yes votes, 2 no votes, 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to GLB. And Pam, can you and Steve please turn your video on? Okay, Carol, go ahead.
The next applicant is Oriental Crown Cat Fanciers Club. This club is located in Jiaxing, a county in northern Zhejiang province that borders Shanghai to the northeast and Jiangsu to the south, to the north. The government of Jiaxing County is administered by the prefecture level city of Jiaxing, which has a population of 4.5 million. 3 members are active CFA breeders and exhibitors. 1 member is a CFA long hair associate judge and master clerk. And 6 members have show production experience as well as some clerking experience. This is an all-breed club, and if accepted, they plan to organize some educational seminars and produce 1 or 2 shows a year in Jiaxing.
Okay, Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
I must have forgot to take my hand down, sorry.
Okay, all right. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. The yes votes are Kathy Calhoun, George Eigenhauser, Mark Cannon, Sharon Roy, Carol Krasnowski, Kathy Dunham, Hayata San, Pam Delabar, Annette Wilson, Rachel Anger, Kenny Curley, Steve McCullough, Melanie Morgan, Rich Maston, and Howard Webster. Okay, if you'll take your hands down. And the no votes are John Kalila, no. Pam Mosier. And I don't think we have any abstentions because Pam Delabar voted yes. So any abstentions? No abstentions, Rachel.
That's 15 yes votes, 2 no votes, 0 abstentions.
I think there was only 1 no vote. Wasn't it just because
I
Steve
had
voted?
John Kalila and Pam Moser were called as no votes.
I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, he took his hand down just as I called his name.
That would be 15 yes votes, 1 no vote, sorry, 16 yes votes, 1 no vote, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, welcome Oriental Crown Cat Fanciers Club. Okay, Carol.
The next applicant is Tan Malacca Cat Fanciers. This club is located in Tangerang, a city in the province of Banten, Indonesia. The city is located on the western border of Jakarta and is a major center for economy, business, commerce, and education. With a population of nearly 2 million, Tangerang is the largest city in Banten province and the 6th largest city in Indonesia. 12 members are active CFA breeders and exhibitors. 1 member has show production experience. 1 member is a CFA certified clerk, and 2 others have clerking experience. This is an all-breed club, and if accepted, they plan to produce 1 or 2 shows a year in East Borneo or other locations.
Okay, thank you. Matt or Kenny, you have anything to comments to add?
Oh, I know that Bob also supports this club.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, so the yes votes are Kenny Curley, Carol Krasnowski, Annette Wilson, George Eigenhauser, Kathy Calhoun, Pam Delabar, Mark Hannon, Hayata San, Sharon Roy, Kathy Dunham, Pam Mosier, Rachel Anger, Rich Maston, Howard Webster, Melanie Morgan, Steve McCullough, John Kalila. Thank you. If you'll take your hands down. Those opposed, please raise your hand. No votes. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Okay, Rachel, you can announce the vote.
That's 17 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, congratulations, 10 Malacca Cat Dancers. You're into the CFA family. Carol?
The last application tonight is the Polaris. This club is located in Nanjing, a sub-provincial city in the capital of China's Jiangsu province. With a population of over 9 million, Nanjing is the second largest city in the East China region and is known as home to many high-quality universities and research institutes. 2 members are active CFA breeders and exhibitors. 7 members have show production experience, and 2 members have clerking experience. This is an all-breed club, and if accepted, they plan to hold educational seminars and produce 1 or 2 shows a year within the provinces of Jiangsu or Zhejiang.
Okay, any comments? Kenny, any comments?
No, Russell supports this club.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody in favor of this club, please raise your hand. Okay, the yes votes are Carol Presnowski, Mark Cannon, Rachel Anger, Jim Eichenhauser, Hayata San, Kenny Curley, Annette Wilson, Melanie Morgan, Rich Maston, John Kalila, Sharon Roy, Kathy Donham, Pam Delabar, Steve McCullough, Kathy Calhoun, Howard Webster. Thank you all. If you'll take your hands down. And the no votes. Pam Mosier. Okay, you can take your hand down. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Rachel, you can announce the vote.
16 yes, 1 no, 0 abstentions.
Okay, welcome the Polaris into the CFA family. Carol?
That's all I have for tonight. I just want to run this by the board though, because I spend quite a bit of time looking up geography and little information to try to give everybody an idea about where these clubs are located and the populations of the areas. Do you still want that information, or do you just want to know how many clubs are in the general location? Because you know, I just want some direction here as to what you really want.
Rachel Anger.
Thank you. My opinion is if there's a club I have an interest in or a concern about, I'm going to look that up and be prepared and answer my own question. Because I know, Carol, you do a lot of background and filling in some information that's just nice to know. So I think what you're doing is extremely appropriate and more than any other club chair has provided to the board. And I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, I think you did a great job with that, Carol.
Thank you very much.
Yep, Kathy Calhoun, you have any comment? You're muted.
As Carol said, I think you do a great job, Carol. This is fantastic. It's great information. I do think though that it would be beneficial, as I said earlier, to have, because these, just as you said, some of the cities in the provinces, it gets a little bit complex. And if you could take a stab at it, I think you would be better prepared you and Dick than all the rest of the board members doing that effort. If you could, it's just a request. Maybe give it a shot and see how it goes. Because if it's difficult for you, it will be difficult for us.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. All right. Anything else, Carol?
That is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Rachel, order number 8 is the judging program. You there, Rachel?
There we go. You see where Ann starts off with a summary of the T2 candidates and everything they're doing. She goes right on to a proposal regarding what we're going to be doing with our associate judges when travel resumes. The second paragraph there is the proposal. She's not actually requesting that we adopt it at this meeting because there's time. I think Ann is more looking for input. If anybody thinks this proposal is missing the mark or is not what was intended when it was suggested that we come up with a proposal, now would be a good time for her to get that input. So does anyone have any comments about the proposal as it's worded there in the section?
Okay, Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, it wasn't on this proposal. It's on another part of the report. And I'll take my hand down when, or I'll put it back up.
Have we passed what you questioned?
Yes, you have.
Okay, let us deal with this and then we'll recognize you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have comments on this? Melanie? Any comments? Pam Mosier? Annette? No? Okay. All right, Pam Delabar?
I wanted to comment on T3 appearing to be only for China. We have for months talked about the need for T3 in Europe. We're putting in extra money so Europe can bring in judges. Hopefully, we're going to be able to bring in judges from the US and Asia, CFA judges, to help us put on shows to continue growth here. But one of the things that would help us tremendously is to have these associate judges. We have a number of people already interested saying, yes, let us put in these applications. We want to do this. We need judges to keep CFA going in Europe. I'm highly disappointed that we were not contacted to see about also including Europe under T3. In fact, I thought Europe was supposed to be the main focus for T3, and these extra Chinese judges that we've been through before on a past application, I thought they were supposed to be secondary to that.
Rachel, would you like to address that or do you want me to?
I'll address it and turn it back over to you. I think the word China is incorrect in there. A T3 was supposed to relate to the ID other. So, and I have a note from Ann says she should have said that it was the resubmission of the team to China Associates past application. She does plan to do Europe next.
Yeah, the whole thing was that China and ID other were all supposed to be T2. Then the board rescinded their motion on the China applications, and they've already are conducting what now is T2, which is the judges outside of China. Okay, so the naming this T3 is this next group that are reapplying from China. So, and I understand where the confusion is because you're right, T3 was supposed to be included all over to sort of fill in. So that's Ann's next project. She's got a, they're in the process of reviewing the applications they got from China, and they will have those. I think they're going to send them to Rachel. She's going to upload the applications into File Vista because that's what we didn't do the last time, and the board was not pleased about that move. So the applications will be up for review, just like everybody else that applies to the judging program. So you can see the people's qualifications and the board will make the selection process. I'm sure they'll have some recommendations, but the board will have the final say. All right, Pam Delavar.
I just want to keep bringing this up every chance that we have, because I don't want to have to keep coming back in asking for money to be able to fly judges in from other parts of the world when we have a plethora of very talented people right here in Europe. And clubs in other organizations are putting on shows now. We can't, because we don't have enough judges in any one area to be able to put on our shows. So, you know, we need the tools to be able to make CFA successful in Europe.
Okay, Rachel Enger.
Thank you. Not to cut you off, but so we can move on. I want to reiterate that Ann said she does plan to do Europe next. So.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Anything else on your report?
Yes, Ann has a couple of forms here that we asked her to come up with that you can see if we scroll down a little bit. There's that one. And the second one is the actual application. That's more of a formalized application, which tracks similar to what we're doing for the regular judges. This is for the pleasure of the board so that we can compare the qualifications of our associate judges in a similar way as our regular judges. The next you see Vicki Nye's guest judge report. Then we're going to go on to the BAOS report, which has no action items. I did want to mention that the education subcommittee had a report that didn't get included. Basically, what they're looking for is approval to, sorry, I'm trying to call up the document and talk at the same time, which isn't working very well. If you'll give me just a second here. I'm sorry, I apologize. There we go. And now what they would like to do is address the a new judge manual, the training manual that was originally written by Karen Lawrence and I back when we were brand new judges. And that's been a year or two, 25 or more. And so they would like to update that information.
You're cutting out, Rachel.
With more current. Can you hear me?
No, it's cutting out. We can't hear you, Rachel.
Okay, I have my best internet provider working on this, so I'm going to table the rest of the report then.
Well, you're coming through now, so maybe you can.
Okay, good, because it was just one very quick item that they wanted, that the education team be given approval to move forward with creating new educational tools for trainees. I don't know if that even needs a motion or if we should just tell them to go for it and to come up with the presentation.
Yep, Kathy Calhoun.
Okay, so I had one question about the Breed Awareness and Orientation School, if they had come up with a fee, entry fee for that. October date?
It's not included in the report, but that's information that I will get from Barb Yeager and Loretta Bow
Okay,
to
that's
update
great.
everyone.
And the educational tools that you were just discussing, do we know how much money, or is that in their budget, or?
They did not have a budget request for that. I think it's just a project that they are undertaking to update the very old and stale training manual.
Not to doubt that it's needed, but maybe in the next, and when would they need to start that, Rachel, do you know?
They were waiting for feedback from the board, whether a motion is required or not is up to the board. But I think that they are ready to go because they certainly have a, their marching orders or their proposal of what they would like to include in it.
Well, okay.
Items to be included would be things such as processes we use to judge, how we note entries that we think we might consider for final placements, how to effectively judge a large class of the same color and sex. So one knows how they will hang the ribbons when they're done with the class. The physical steps one can take to shorten the number of steps taken by combining actions, to name just a few. Education would like to begin working on such a manual, as well as a possible PowerPoint to present virtually. They want to engage Kathy whose strong point is education, given her talents as a nurse educator.
Okay.
So,
anything else, Kathy?
Well, it's hard for me to have an opinion one way or another. Although I think what you just said, Rachel, is great information and much needed, but I have no idea magnitude of cost, so it's a little bit difficult to weigh in.
As I mentioned, there is no budget request, so you can assume the cost is zero.
Zero? Oh, okay, well, I can do that then.
All right. I put a smile on your face.
Yeah. Okay.
Melanie, you're recognized.
Thank you. Going back to the forms for the applications, do we need to have a motion to accept those, or are we just fine with letting them go as is? I certainly have no problems with them.
I think they've already been using them, so.
Okay, just checking.
Yep. Am I correct, Rachel? Isn't that the one that the new China applicants use to fill out?
Yes, it is. And we were talking about whether or not we wanted a motion for the education committee to go forward, or if we just want to direct them to come back to us with a proposal that we'll actually vote on in an official motion.
Well, maybe they can bring back the PowerPoint presentation they come up with, like we did with the Train the Trainer that Kathy Hoos did.
Excellent. If that's the case, then that concludes the judging program report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Nice job. Nancy Dodge, you're recognized for credentials.
Thank you, Daryl.
Mhm.
Well, we had a first virtual annual, and delegates got registered, but we didn't have an online proxy. So central office allowed the named delegate to proxy a person by email. When updating the form, it was discovered that a sentence had been removed from the form in 2016, and it didn't have approval from credentials or the board to do so. It's true, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The online balloting has a secondary notification form, but the paper ballot got changed, again, without approval of credentials on the board, and there was only one signature that was required and one space available. So it eliminated a type of dual control from the secretary and the president. And that got taken care of right away. Let's go back to the form. Since the proxy form excluded the wording for 5 years, we wanted to know if it should be put back in, and the credentials committee voted to leave that sentence out. Can we move the page down, please? The sentence that was removed from the proxy form says, "You may not proxy votes as an elected delegate and then accept other votes as a proxy." What we would like the board to ratify is our decision to leave that statement off since it's been gone for 5 years.
Rachel will make that motion.
George will second.
Okay, thank you, George. Any discussion? Kathy Calhoun?
No, I was raising my hand to make the motion.
Oh, okay. All right, any discussion? Mark?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that what we're saying is that they can proxy a club and then take another club. Taking that sentence out for the past 5 years means that we're no longer going to enforce that.
Nancy?
That's true. The question was asked of the person at central office is, why is that sentence there? That person didn't know, so it got dropped. Yes, that means that that there is no prohibition from a named delegate naming a proxy and then accepting another proxy or delegate.
So they wouldn't be exceeding 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're still tied to that.
Yeah, exactly.
That answer your question, Mark? Okay, thank you. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, the yes votes are Rich Maston, Annette Wilson, Kathy Calhoun, George Eigenhauser, Carol Krasnowski, Mark Hannon, Kathy Dunham, Rachel Anger, Hayata San, Pam Delabar, John Kalila, Melanie Morgan, Sharon Roy, Steve McCullough, Kenny Curley, Pam Mosier. You'll take your hands down. And if you're opposed, please raise your hand. John Kalila?
I'm having a hard time getting my hand down.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, I see no votes. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Rachel, you can announce the vote.
At 17 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, the motion is agreed to. Nancy, you have anything else?
No, that's fine. And thank you very much for your support.
Okay. Let's move on to reports of special select / ad hoc committees. And Eileen will go with virtual annual committee.
Okay. But it's basically an informational only report. You'll see that we had a debrief meeting this past Thursday with the entire committee, and it was a really good meeting. We went over a lot of topics. We discussed the voting, electronic voting, how everybody seemed to like that, and we will be bringing something to the board in October of some options that we may want to consider for voting electronically instead of the hand raising method at the upcoming annual. The other thing that was discussed is, which is not on here, is giving proper recognition to the national award winners from the 2019-2020 show season. They didn't have their time up on the stage. They didn't see their cat's picture up on the screens. So there is a smaller committee chaired by Kathy Dunham as the awards chair that will be meeting. And again, we'll have some thoughts and recommendations for the board to consider of how we might honor those individuals. The delegate fee rebates are all out. It was about 127 clubs that requested that $30 rebate. And that's it. Unless anybody has any questions.
Kathy Calhoun.
Just, do we need to say anything about the survey, potential survey?
I guess we could, sure. We're planning on sending out a survey to all delegates who attended, just to get their feedback on some items, see how they liked it, what items they would like to continue seeing at future annuals. For instance, the electronic voting. So Amber is starting to put that survey together, and we'll be running it by the committee before we get that sent out. Hopefully that'll be within the next week or two that we'll get that out. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, anything else, Eileen?
No, not for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to order number 11, the COVID committee. George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Sure. Essentially, CFA's minimum COVID-19 requirements are scheduled to expire at the end of this month. The committee did not feel like this is a good time to let it expire, nor did we feel this is the time to make substantial revisions. However, it's a patchwork thing that was done in bits and pieces over several board meetings. So there were issues of spelling and grammar and just readability. So Rich and his daughter Sierra took lead on essentially cleaning it up. It wasn't our intention to make any substantive changes to the document. It was simply to improve grammar and readability. Unfortunately, when you look at it in the line out version, that makes it very difficult to follow, because often things will appear twice. You move something around, it gets strikeout in the place that it was, it gets underscore in the place that it will be. So it becomes very hard to follow. And that's why I made sure we submitted a PDF version, which is much more readable. If we extend the new version, if we adopt the new version and give it an expiration of the end of December, that will give us the October board meeting, and depending on how we decide to schedule future board meetings, the December board meeting, to decide whether it needs to be extended further, terminated, or modified. But this is our proposal, and adopting the revised version to be effective through December 31, 2021 is my motion.
Carol seconds.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion. I don't see any hands up. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Did we just lose Daryl?
I know.
Exterminating. We are calling to schedule the next service on your home. We will be there on Wednesday, August 4th, between 9
Sorry.
p.m. and 12 p.m. If this is not a good day or time,
The yes
or should
votes
your
are
service be
Mark
needed, please
Hannon.
give us a call at
um,
70222.
Shut up. Okay. Mark Hannon, Howard Webster, Carol Krasnowski, Annette Wilson, Rich Maston, Rachel Anger, Pam Mosier, Pam Delabar, Melanie Morgan, John Kalila, Kathy Calhoun, Sharon Roy, George Eigenhauser, Kenny Curley, Hayata San, Steve McCullough, Kathy Dunham. If you'll take your hands down, please. Those opposed, please raise your hand. All right, I see no votes. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Rachel, you can announce the vote.
It was 17 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. The motion is agreed to. Thank you, George, and all the committee members. Okay, let's go on to 12, 12B, agenda items. Mark Hannon.
Yeah, I have a motion before the board to hopefully limit the amount of time we spend on these Tuesday night board meetings. They tend to go on and on and on. So my motion is the committee reports be limited to the 3-day long board meetings in February, June, and October. Exceptions will only be made for the evening board meetings in April, August, and December when there's time-sensitive matters that cannot wait for the day-long meetings. For emergency meetings, the agenda will be limited to only the emergency issues that cause the meeting to be called.
Okay,
Rachel seconds.
thank you, Rachel. And for your information, Mark, that's pretty much what I said at the last meeting when I changed the schedule for the meetings. So those,
But we went through all sorts of things tonight with committees that we shouldn't have had to go through.
okay. All right, Carol Krasnowski.
Yes, I want to know, are club applications considered time sensitive? Because if they are not, I need to know now so that I can direct the clubs as to when the next deadlines will be.
Well, those would be the three-day meetings and the other 3 scheduled meetings. I don't have a problem with club applications. Mark, do you have a problem with that?
No.
Okay. Melanie Morgan.
I actually think club applications are one of the things that I was thinking of when Mark brought this up. I don't see why club applications are all that time sensitive in terms of us not being able to consider them, much like we don't consider actual brand new applicants to the judging program. If we're really going to have the time to go through and look at the applications, then perhaps they should only come up in the main meetings.
Okay, Pam Mosier, you're recognized.
Melanie said what I was going to say. I totally agree.
Okay. Anyone else? Rachel Anger.
Well, if the board feels that way about clubs, I would like to at least grandfather those that Carol has in the pipeline right now, so that this would come into play after our October meeting.
Okay, so why don't we vote on Mark's motion, and then Pam and Melanie can make a motion that clubs only be brought up at the 3 meetings. Kathy Calhoun.
Assuming that you would still want a treasurer's report to be brief as it was briefed to this round or not. Just one clarification.
Mark?
I don't understand why you can't just mail it to us, email it to us.
I can certainly do that. I can put it as just a report. There are quite often things that I just want people to be cognizant of. And typically the treasury report only takes 5 minutes.
I think it's sort of important for the membership to know what the finances are doing too, so.
Well, I think what we should do is vote on the motion, and then presuming the motion passes, we can discuss what we think should be exceptions.
Okay. George Eigenhauser.
Yeah, I think we should revisit the idea of having a consent agenda. So people like Kathy can put in their treasurer's report, but it's not listed as something that we're going to spend a lot of time on. That would kind of split the baby, allow it to be brought up in a timely manner and get the information out like she wants, but not necessarily consume a lot of board time.
Well, couldn't it be listed as for information only? And then Kathy can take questions if she needs them. Kathy?
I hadn't taken my hand down from the original question.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's vote on Mark's motion. All those in favor, please raise your hand. So the yes votes are Mark Hannon, Howard Webster, Annette Wilson, Pam Mosier, John Kalila, Rachel Anger, Steve McCullough, Pam Delabar, George Eigenhauser, Melanie Morgan, Kathy Calhoun, Hayata San, Rich Maston, Kenny Curley, Carol Krasnowski. You'll take your hands down. And the no votes, please raise your hand. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, Rachel, no nos and no abstentions.
I'm missing Kathy Dunham.
I was a yes, Rachel.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
And I'm still missing one vote. These are going through so fast that I don't have time to check them off a list.
I'm sorry.
So,
I'm sorry.
I think I'm missing Sharon Roy.
Yeah, I didn't call her.
I don't see her anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
see her
either. Okay, so that would be 16 yes, 0 no, 0 abstention, 1 did not vote.
Okay, all right, so the motion is agreed to. Okay, Pam, Melanie, which one of you want to make the motion? Pam Mosier,
Okay, limit the,
I'll,
are you gonna do it, Melanie?
no, you better. I don't know how long I'll be connected.
Okay. That the new clubs.
I'll second it.
Okay, the new clubs also only be brought up in February, June, and October meetings.
okay, and Melanie seconds. Is there any discussion on this? Rich?
Will the new clubs be notified what the expectation is when this is brought forward to the board those 3 times a year?
Carol?
Yes, I was just raising my hand to speak. I will, when they first contact me and submit their information for review, I will advise them. I always do advise them when the next deadline is. So they will be told,
So
definitely.
do you, Carol, do you have any pending applications now?
I have a couple for October.
Okay, well,
and that's it
okay.
for now.
All right, that's fine. All right, so after that, then if this passes, then you can notify them. That'll just be, every 4 months. Rachel?
Thank you. I was going to ask for an effective date. Can we include that just for clarity?
Pam Mosier?
I would say effective, the October meeting, so. From there going forward. I mean, we should take the ones that Carol has for October, but then after that, every 4 months.
Yeah. So Carol, any applications you get, you'll notify them that, have you sent a notice out for anything after October yet?
No, I have not at this point.
Okay.
What I usually do is when I send reminders for them to submit their revisions or whatever, I will let them know the deadline. I will remind them of the deadline and let them know when the next deadline is. So I will just
Okay.
make that next deadline a normal board meeting.
Okay, great. Well, Pam Delabar can put this in her meeting notes also. All right, any other discussion? Kathy Calhoun?
Okay, so I don't think we, at least in my mind, we made a decision on the treasurer's report. And, as I sit here and think about it, I think it's really important that we keep our eye on the financials. Now,
Kathy, can we take care of this motion? Then we'll go back and pick that up.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's okay. It's all right. Just keep things clean.
Yep.
All right. Let's call for the vote. All those in favor of limiting club applications to the 3 major 3-day meetings, please raise your hands. So we have Mark Hannon, Rachel Anger, Rich Maston, Howard Webster, Steve McCullough, John Kalila, Annette Wilson, Melanie Morgan, Pam Mosier, Carol Krasnowski, Sharon Roy, George Eichenhauser, Hayata San, Pam Delabar, Kathy Calhoun, Kathy Dunham, and Kenny Curley. You'll take your hands down, please. Thank you. And the no votes, if you'll raise your hands, please. Okay, I see no votes. Any abstentions? Okay, no abstentions. Rachel, you can announce the vote.
That was 17 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
Okay, so that passes by the 2/3 required since it was not pre-noticed. Kathy, you're recognized.
Okay, so as far as the treasurer's report, if the board feels like a a limited version of the report in like a reports category would be sufficient, something that would just show the bottom line and maybe registration, that could be done. My concern is that if we don't at least, we're in a little bit of a different period because we didn't have the cost of an annual, we don't have the cost of an international show, but when we do, those interim months are important. So, I mean, potentially this year we could do, I could do a limited version on the 3, Tuesday meetings, but I would like, once we get back into a full, robust year, that you have a better picture.
Okay, Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
This is one of, I consider, the core reports that we need to look at as a board, and also have the constituency as well. If it's in the reports at our meetings, be they the 3 major meetings or the other Zoom meetings that we have scheduled, Treasury needs to be there. It's one of our biggest operating reports that we have.
Okay, Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Thank you. It's very beneficial to the board to understand 6 times a year where the board is operating in a financial standpoint. It would be great if Kathy could just do a down and dirty report that lets us know if we're profitable, unprofitable, how we're performing compared to last year, how we're performing compared to budget. It is extremely important for the board to know that as we conduct business. As the year goes on, we're always going to have things presented to us throughout the year, and we're going to have one come up in closed session tonight. We're also going to have, actually, we got a couple coming up in closed session tonight. We also have more coming up in October. So it would be a shame to see that the board does not want to see a brief financial report with or without action items, just so that we're aware of our financial position.
Okay, Mark Hanman, you're recognized.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with putting it in the minutes or in the compiled reports. I just don't think we need to spend time with Kathy verbalizing anything unless we have a specific question. Let's provide the report to the board, and it'll be in the minutes. If Pam Delabar thinks it's appropriate, she can mention the bottom line in her notes.
George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
I distinguish between treasurer's reports that are simply announcing financial information to the board and to the fancy, and those reports that have action items. As Rich mentioned, we're constantly tweaking the budget. I don't want to be in a position where the only reason we're having a December meeting is that there's a treasurer's report with no action items in it. And that makes no sense to me. We can put out as many treasurer's reports as there are days in the year.
No, we can't. No, we can't.
In theory, we can put out more treasurer's reports than there are board meetings. And we could certainly communicate that to the fancy. So I don't think keeping treasurer's reports to the minimum, primarily big reports and primarily when there are action items, prevents us from releasing financials between the 3 major board meetings, or even between the 6 semi-major board meetings, and then simply announcing it to the fancy on CFA News, or mailing it to the clubs, or whatever else we're going to do. So if we're going to do reports that are simply reports, I don't want a report with no action items on it to trigger a meeting when we wouldn't have otherwise held one. There are other ways to get the information to the board without a physical meeting.
Kathy?
I actually think this is really important. The treasurer's report is under 5 minutes. I typically will pick out 2 or 3 things and we drop to the bottom line. I want this board to pay attention to it. Not that you wouldn't, but I don't want things to be a surprise when it comes up. So can we just agree just to leave it as is, keep it for under 5 minutes? I guarantee if there's no reason, if we're not gonna have a meeting, of course, we wouldn't have a meeting just to do that. The treasurer's report rarely has an action item. It's a report, but I just don't think that we should take our eye off the ball on that. And I can keep it very brief.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion to limit the treasurer's report to the 3 main meetings?
I'm taking my hand down.
Okay. Okay, so the treasurer's reports will be included on our 6 meetings. All right. Anybody else? Okay, Mark, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to unfinished business and general orders. Is there any unfinished business we need to discuss? I dare say other committees. Any new business that needs to be brought up? Mark?
Yeah, I spent the last year as a member of the audience rather than a member of the board. And my experience has been it's very difficult to follow these meetings when you're in the audience and you don't have the benefit of seeing the committee reports. For a period of time, Rachel used to put out a sanitized version of the combined reports. It was just the open session stuff. And that was provided, a couple of days prior to the meeting so that people that are attending the meeting have an opportunity to read the reports and know what we're talking about. I mean, this past week, we put out the agenda, which was, not very explanatory. People wanted to know what I was talking about in the one about the scoring for the show season. My suggestion under new business is that we ask the secretary to provide combined reports for the audience.
Okay, Pam Delabar, and then I'll recognize you, Rachel.
That's, excuse me, adding to the secretary's job, which we've already given her several jobs and reports that she already has to write in addition to providing the minutes. As far as getting a combined report like we get right now, look at the changes we just had right before this meeting and during the meeting. I don't know how much we can do except for regional directors and directors at large to put out, hey, this is basically what we're talking about, and doing it in a sanitized version ourselves to our constituents. Let us answer to our constituents instead of adding something else to Rachel. Of course, she's probably going to come on and say, oh, but that would be easy to do. But anyway.
She's smiling. I think you might be right. Go ahead, Rachel.
Really, especially if things went out as they originally appeared, and then we've had this withdrawn and that withdrawn, and this one is not appropriate in open session, etc. Coming up with another something giving out will mislead our people, and I have to go back to look. Oh, by all means, write your representative to let them know how you feel about changing the scoring system when none of us were even thinking about changing the scoring system for this show season. So, I mean, let's get a handle on this. Well,
the membership sure thought we were going to do it. I can tell you that.
Well, where in the hell did they get the idea?
Mark Hannon's taking credit for it. Okay, Rachel, you're recognized.
Thanks. And yes, that is what I'm going to say. I would be glad to take that back up again. I don't, we can give it a try and see what our constituents think. I can name a few people that I know would like that, who are fans of doing the minutes and reading the minutes in general. So, but my concern is, as Pam mentioned, that for instance, the one report we had names in it, which we don't generally do. I can do a little more thorough job of reviewing before this goes up, if the authors of the report can keep those same things in mind.
Yeah, they could just redact the names.
Exactly.
Okay, good. All right. You okay with that, Mark? Cool. All right. Anybody else got anything before we adjourn? No? Okay, so everybody's got the link to the closed meeting. Eileen, if you can send me